Welcome to Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I am your host, That Guy Jay. Real quick, let's jump into the watch of the day. Today's watch of the day is the Casio G-Shock DW6900. This is one of the most classic G-Shocks. When a lot of people think of G-Shock, they'll probably think of this one. This was a birthday gift last month from my friend on Book Talk, Davia. I'm so happy to have this in my collection now. This is a great go anywhere, do anything watch. You don't have to worry about it. It can take a beating. It's got all of the functions that you would expect in a Casio. And now let's get to the guest portion of the interview. But real quick, if you could hit that like button, and if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Today I am joined by Kasey. Kasey is a animal creator. She keeps a plethora of species of different reptiles. She also rescues reptiles. For her day job, she is a technician in an emergency vet office. Can't wait to get into this conversation with her, but yeah, let's just jump into it. Welcome back, everyone. Today I am joined by Kasey.
Yes.
Kasey is a vet tech in an emergency vet's office. She is also a reptile keeper who keeps a ton of cool species. And if I recall correctly, you also rescue reptiles?
Yeah, here and there. That's how I've definitely obtained here and there. But my background as a vet tech, I've worked with a lot of exotics and a lot of wildlife over the years. So that's my passion, and I have a lot of experience with all of those weird little critters.
Now, how did you originally get into reptiles? Is this like a from childhood thing?
Yeah, so I didn't have pet reptiles as a kid. I mean, I tried. I tried really hard to bring home turtles and frogs and stuff, but my mom always sent me back with them, had to return them back to nature, which is the right thing to do. Um,
Right.
but I didn't get a pet reptile until I was about 25. I moved out on my own. I moved across country, and I was like, it's time to get a pet reptile. And then that just kind of sparked it. And then over the years, I worked with more exotic species, wanted to keep more. And then I landed in a position where I was actually taking care of reptiles professionally for a company called Zen Habitats. Um, they make reptile enclosures and accessories, and they had a little cohort of reptiles, and it was my job to take care of them and make content about them.
I actually forgot about that. I remember those videos that you used to make for them.
Yeah, yeah, crazy times. Yeah, that hasn't really happened. I've just been doing my own thing recently, but I miss making content professionally as well.
Yeah, I had one reptile as a child, and
Mhm.
looking back, it was not good. Uh, it was the '90s though. Information was different. I had a green iguana.
Oh my god, so it's probably like massive.
Unfortunately, I got it as a baby, and it only lived about a year.
And
I
that
don't I don't think the pet shop was the best, but it was 1994. I was 10, and
Mhm.
I went with my science teacher. He helped me get it, so like I did the best I could for the time. But looking back, I'm like that was not the proper care.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I got back into reptiles 6 years ago. I have a daughter. She's almost 16, and when she was 9, she decided she wanted a reptile.
Yeah.
So I did a ton of research, and I found like ball pythons are pretty beginner friendly.
Mhm.
And so we ended up with a super pastel male. We've had him for 6 years, and he is like the sweetest thing. He's hissed at me one time because I scared him. He's never struck at us, never done anything. He's
Mhm.
very shy.
Oh, I love a
And then a
ball
couple
python.
years ago, we got a um, toffee belly hognose,
Oh,
another male, and he is hilarious. They have so much personality.
they're dramatic.
Yeah, he's almost 2. He's reached that like teenager phase where like if I open his enclosure, he'll hiss at me, but then come to me.
Oh, I love
But like
that.
he's just he's never struck at me either. Well, he bluff strikes
Yeah.
occasionally, but
Mhm. And then curls over.
yeah. What was the first reptile you went with?
I got a bearded dragon. I went simple. And that was about like 2014, 2016, I think is when I moved down there. Um, and that was my first one, and she was great. Unfortunately, she just recently passed. She was my
Oh,
first one.
that's too bad. I'm sorry.
It's
That's always
okay.
hard.
But like again, she taught me so much. Like I appreciate this dragon so much because she taught me how to be a reptile keeper. Her care when I first got her was not the best, and I learned a lot with her. And through her patience and, should I say, hardiness, she really was able to help me learn. And by the time, in her senior years, she was living, she was thriving. Her enclosure was amazing. She was living her best little dragon life. But it took a little while to get there. And now, because of all of that learning, the rest of my critters are doing so well.
Well, that's I think something that's great about TikTok is there's a whole lot more information available now because reptile care is it's a weird place to be because there's so much old information and then there's also so much conflicting information. Like
Absolutely.
when I got my ball python, I had him in a small little sterilite bin that I
Hmm.
made.
Yep.
And that worked for a baby because he was very shy. He felt safe in there, but
Yeah.
my only friend I have a friend from high school who does a little bit of ball python breeding, so he uses rack systems.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like that's what I knew, that's what a lot of YouTube had,
Hmm.
and it's like, turns out a 4 by 2 by 2 is a little bit better for him, but it's like,
Yeah.
I didn't
No.
know that when I got him.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. Like the glass enclosure I had Agave in, that was her name. It was an aquarium. Like it was a fish tank with carpet, and like it was not ideal. But you know, I learned slowly, and fortunately, no accidents happened with improper care. She never ended up sustaining any face injuries or nail catching on the things that, like the carpet. So I was very fortunate that she was a cool dragon that didn't stress out too much. But that doesn't mean that you should be using carpets in aquariums and such. Like they really do better in a front opening enclosure where you can come at them on their level and not like a bird of prey coming down on that lizard and scaring the crap out of them.
Yeah, and I was in a similar situation too, where looking back, it's like I eventually moved him into a bigger, it was like a large Rubbermaid, and it was like 3 feet long, but it's like he's small. He's not a big guy, but
Hmm.
he does so much better in the proper enclosure. The front opening is so much better to
Hmm.
get him out. He's so less intimidated.
Hmm.
It is funny though. He picked up the habit of being fed from above.
Yeah.
So when I feed him, I still have to have the tongs like at the
Dangling.
top of the enclosure, or he won't eat it.
Yeah, that's so funny. They're very
He
particular.
He's a little bougie too. If I don't get the temperature of the rat perfect, he won't even he'll get up to it and then he'll just back away, and I'm like, "Okay, my bad.
I
It's
really like to
95 instead of 100 on the
Yeah,
head."
right, I know. How dare you? I really like to compare them to a picky cat. They're like they're very particular. They're in their way, and that's okay. And like as long as you can vibe on the ball python's level on what they like, I think it's great. But yeah, they're just like, I want my meal the way I want my meal, just like, a cat may ask.
Yeah. Yeah, it amazes me sometimes that they survive in the wild with how picky they can be. Because 'cause I've read of some where they'll only eat male rats. I've read of some where they'll only eat white rats or
Right.
black rats, whichever it may be, like, they lock onto one thing and that's all they'll eat.
Mhm, they're like, "This is safe. I like this. This is safe." And a lot of that I do wonder, and in my experience, could be that some things just might not be right still,
Yeah.
you know? Like, look at the rest of your husbandry. Like, why does it feel that way? Does it feel unsafe for some reason? And that is its safe food. Like,
Yeah.
you
I've
know,
gotten very lucky with him. He's a very avid eater.
good.
He
We
has
love
a very frustrating habit of he strikes perfectly, coils it, and he drops it. And he always eats it, but then he just, like, he loses it for, like, 20 minutes, and I'm like, "Dude, you're right on top of it."
like, just go get it. Like, you're so silly. Yeah,
It
no.
stresses me out every time. He's never skipped a meal, but every time I'm still like, "Come on, man.
Mhm.
Don't do this to me."
Yeah. Currently, I only have a boa living here at home, and he is a great eater. I love feeding him. He gets a pretty wide variety of meals because of his size. I feel like I can get away with feeding him some different prey items, and I think that's really fun.
Yeah, it's funny, a lot of people don't know that I keep reptiles. I think this is the podcast first introduction to this, but it's like,
Yes.
yeah, I have frozen rats in my freezer next to my Eggo waffles.
Exactly, it's totally normal,
And
that's a yeah,
it's become such a normal thing. It's like it's been 6 years of this. I don't even think about it, but, like, when
right.
people hear that, they're like, "I'm not eating at your
I
house."
know, exactly, like, there it's not an odd occasion to, like, walk through my kitchen and see, like, dead things in the sink. Like,
Yeah,
it's just
defrosting.
yeah, it's just normal.
I've I've wanted to try and mix up his prey items a little bit, but he's really not that big. I think he's, like, right on the cusp of being big enough to eat, like, a chick,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I'm like, "I should probably get one to try," but I don't know if he quite can because he eats small rats. He's only, like I think he's, like, 1,500 grams. He's not a big boy.
Oh, he's small, yeah. Well, no,
Yeah.
that's like, he's probably, like if I had to guess, at 1,500 grams, like 3.5 feet.
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
Maybe closer to 3. Like, he's a little guy.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
never power fed him, though. I didn't
I think that's
I
good, yeah.
I know my friend who breeds, he feeds weekly, and I'm like, "No, I don't think I need to do that."
Yeah, I think it really depends on the snake, honestly, like, I think once they get to adult size, like, every 3 weeks or so is appropriate, every month, like, Fetty, my boa, he eats every 4 weeks, but he's also a boa, he's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, I'm at every, like, 3 to 4 to 5. I go based on him
Yeah,
because he
exactly.
usually shows signs of when he's ready again. He starts
Getting
showing more
active.
signs of hunting.
Yes. Mhm.
So it's like it becomes pretty apparent when he's ready.
Oh, I love that. I really love that. It's so
And then
cool.
it is, then he's super greedy. As soon as you feed him, he goes to his warm side hide and pokes his head out like he's ready for another one.
Yeah. Ready. I love that. I love that. I love being a reptile keeper and, like, knowing your animal, like, being able to see these cues, like, you are so in tune with, like, a creature, and, like, it's, like, a really I don't know, a uplifting feeling, like, it's just
No, I totally agree, and I think it's a lot of people, in my experience, have a hard time understanding why reptiles because a lot of people own pets to be loved.
right.
Because a cat loves you, a dog loves you, most mammals love you, and reptiles, it's like it's not love, but you get to like, once you get to the point of trust,
Mm,
it's such a cool feeling where they no longer are afraid of you,
right.
and it's like they don't necessarily love you, but they'll come hang out on your lap because they feel safe and you're warm, and it's like
Mhm.
it's still a very cool experience.
Right, absolutely. It's that trust feels so cool, like, you're right, it's not love, and that's alright, like, it doesn't I don't need you don't need unconditional love from something to for you to love it back, like, that's and I think when you have children, you start to realize that sort of thing, like, like, that you're like, "Oh, right, I love this thing so
Yeah.
much."
Yep.
Um, but that's a whole 'nother thing, but I think, yeah, keeping reptiles, you have this just it's a different type of bond and a different type of trust and a different routine that they come out of their little house, they're like, "Hey, what up? Where's my bugs?"
Yeah.
And you just have that thing going. I love that.
Now what species are you currently keeping?
So right now we have a Savannah monitor, a boa constrictor, a Nigerian Uromastyx, and like a bunch of geckos and some spiders and tarantulas.
So you have a monitor. Monitors are very cool.
Yeah, he's still little. He's only like this big, but I I did learn that I'm pretty sure he was a wild caught specimen. I really wanted a captive bred guy, and I went under the assumption that he was going to be a captive bred guy. But based on his behavior, based on his size, based on just some characteristics I'm noticing, I feel that he was a wild caught specimen. So I don't know if he will get to the potential of the 4 feet of the Savannah monitor size. So I do feel that some of the wild caught guys, might be a little stunted just because
Right.
stress, transport, immune health, so many things.
And they start out life unsure of where food's coming from and
Right, right. So,
now and for those who are listening who aren't reptile keepers, there are certain species that are more commonly caught in the wild and then sold as pets, and it's
mhm,
generally you know more about the animals if they were bred, but it's a weird gray area where not all breeders know all the information and not all breeders are honest, so you don't always know.
Mm.
and some species are much more. There are some species you can only get wild caught,
Mhm. Yeah.
and
I don't know a
it's
lot of savanna monitors being captive bred, so that's part
yeah,
of the issue. Um, and I just went on the pet store's, like, word that, "Yeah, I think he's a captive bred guy." And I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay."
and that's where it's tough is especially at like reptile expos. There's a lot of breeders there that are they're there to make sales. They're not there to give you the real full story.
Right. 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 Especially these import savanna monitors, they come in, they're still green. They're little tiny, tiny lizards. They come in on import. They're buying them for literally $2 a piece. Like,
Yeah,
it's, and then selling them for, $50.
and again, anyone that's not familiar with reptiles, a monitor is think kind of like a Komodo dragon but smaller. They're similar in looks. Um, they're usually considered one of the smartest reptiles, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they really they have that hunting mentality. They go after prey. In a they so they're called monitors because they monitor their surroundings, and they're actively hunting, not like an ambush predator like a snake might be.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're very cool. I've seen some really neat enclosures on YouTube for different species of monitors.
Yeah. Like, especially like Asian water monitors, they get like 6+ feet with their tails. And you got to have a pond and like everything set up for them. I think it's crazy and so cool.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's changed a lot with reptile keeping too is that people realize bigger enclosures are needed.
Yeah.
It's like the minimum for a ball python used to be like a 20-gallon long,
Hmm.
and now the recommended is 4 by 2 by 2, which is 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, and 2 feet tall.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't think about that when they bring these animals home. They're like, all right, I got a little fish tank. I'll stick them in there. But it's like a 4 foot enclosure. Like, I live in a very, like, 1,000 square foot home. Like, that's a big chunk of furniture.
Yeah, I'm in a 900 square foot apartment, so it's
Yeah.
like I have one in the living room with
Mhm.
I have the hognose enclosure on top, but
Yeah,
like, I
exactly.
would love another ball python, but I don't think I have room for another 4 by 2 by 2.
Yeah, we totally dedicated the smallest bedroom to house the reptiles. So we sacked a bedroom for this.
At one point, my daughter really wanted a leopard gecko, and I was like, that's basically another 4 by 2 by 2 as well. Like
Right.
maybe some type of crested gecko, we could get
Yes,
vertical room.
vertical.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Less floor space.
yeah,
No, I am a big fan of geckos, especially crested geckos. They're so cute. For those of you who don't know what they look like, they're also referred to as eyelash geckos because they have these crests above their eyes. They're just fantastic little critters, and they
they're
only grow
very cute.
like this big, just little.
And they're super easy, in terms of feeding because they'll eat a paste.
Yeah.
It's a powder you add water, and
Smoothies.
it looks like, applesauce.
They love it,
And
and, you throw in some bugs here and there, it's easy, They like a good, relative humidity, a little bit higher than room, like, relative humidity, with, mistings, and then their heat, they honestly do well in a typical room temperature setting. They're a very good species. I love them. I think they're just great.
yeah, I do wanna only having 2 snakes, I would like to get some type of lizard at some point.
Yeah.
I just haven't committed to what kind yet.
Yeah. I know there's so many cool ones. I know I don't think I'm gonna end up with a bearded dragon again. I liked that we had her. I think it was great. I don't know if I will ever own. I think bearded dragons are a lot more complicated than people give them credit for, and I don't know if I want to go through all of that again.
Yeah, well, they require very high heat,
It's
don't
the
they?
heat, the UVB, the diet variation, because they're eating bugs and vegetables, and you wanna mix it up, and it's like I was buying so much different produce and growing produce. I mean, I grow my own bugs, but, like, if I just had the one bearded dragon, like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and if you have a bunch of other ones on top of it.
Yeah.
Now you
Right.
said you had a Uromastyx as well?
Yeah,
Aren't those kind of similar, but
they
their head's
are.
different?
Yeah, so I really like them. I like them a little bit more because they are strictly herbivorous. So I can just feed him. I don't have to worry about bugs and I mean, granted, I'm already doing that for other animals, but for him, I just don't have to worry about it. It's just like an easy, like I just feed him just a variety of greens. This time of year is great. My garden is starting to thrive. You know, I got Swiss chard out there, collard greens, arugula, spinach. Like, so he gets a wide variety of everything in the summer. Um, and then I just kind of like pick and choose throughout the winter.
Yeah, that's cool that you can grow your own. The bugs are actually the one thing that kept me from lizards as the first one, 'cause I like, when my daughter was 9, she saw leopard geckos, and I was like, I went ball python, because at 9, I was like, "I'm taking care of this. As much as you say
Right.
you're going to, I know it's me." And frozen
Mhm.
rats are way easier than bugs, because I don't mind reptiles, but bugs kinda give me the heebie-jeebies still. Like, I
That's
don't wanna
fair.
I don't wanna touch cockroaches.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. That's not for everyone. And I think the Uromastyx is personally, that's why I like the Uromastyx more than the bearded dragon at this point in my life, just because and I'm trying to kind of push it a little bit more. I think they're not as handleable, they're not as friendly, but they're a really cool lizard and they're an herbivore, so you don't have to worry about all those buggies.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
Mhm.
Now, did you get into the vet tech stuff before reptiles, or did being a reptile keeper lead you down that path?
Ah, so that's a tricky one. If we want to go back down the history of my job career, I wasn't always an animal person. I was actually graphic arts and printing was my major.
Okay,
Originally, yeah.
a
I
little different.
Yeah, totally different. But I was feeling stagnant. I was working in a corporate position. I was in management. Didn't love it. Had to go back to school at some point. So like if I was going back to school, let's do something fulfilling. I always loved animals. So this was technically before reptiles. Um, but I always loved critters. So like as a little kid, like I explained, you know, I was out there picking up frogs and turtles and trying to bring them home. Um, but I had a cat growing up. You know, I was always really passionate about animals. I wanted to be a vet when I was a little girl. But when it came time to go back to school, I was already 25, so second time career essentially. And I I made the decision to not be a doctor because that was like a lot more school, a lot more loans. Um, so nursing seemed to make the most sense. So,
Yeah, the vet that's a long road at 25. I
yeah.
mean, it's a long road at any point, but it's like
25
going
is
back
gonna
to
be like,
school.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
So, did you work in with exotic animals from the beginning when you first got your vet jobs, or was it just standard like cats, dogs?
I tried. So when I first started, I knew when I first started school, I knew I didn't want to work with cats and dogs. I was like, I want to be in a zoo or an aquarium or something cool. Um, so I started volunteering at a petting zoo that had like goats and llamas and they had a little reptile room. So like I took care of all these like weird little critters as an intern. Then I started working with dogs and cats like everyone else did. I got bored, so I started doing ER that also had an exotics department. Unfortunately, didn't get to see as many exotics as I wanted to, so I had to continue out. Um, and I needed to do a 6 month internship for school, and I decided to do it at an exotics and wildlife practice, and that just like opened up so many doors of opportunities and experiences. I then applied and became the animal care manager of a small wildlife facility down in DC for 3 years. So I ran that. We saw about 3,000 wild animals a year there. Uh,
Oh, wow, that's very cool. What kind of animals?
so it was urban wildlife. So lots of pigeons and squirrels, but lots of raptors too, lots of bunnies, possums, um, songbirds when they came migrating through. Got
That
lots of
is
hawks too.
so cool.
Yeah.
I love possums.
Yeah.
At one point, I lived in Florida for a year,
Mhm.
and I lived in a development that was never finished, so it was a lot of empty lots, and
Mhm.
we would get possums cruising down the street all the time. I loved when they had the little babies on them. They're so many people think they're so scary looking, but I don't know, I think they're so adorable.
They're like a really cute, like they're so much cuter than rodents. Like I don't know, they're just. Oh, oh, I love them.
Yeah. Now with exotic pets, do you see a lot of snakes and reptiles, or is it more just like chinchillas and the weird critters that people end up with?
So, now that I'm in a strictly ER setting, we don't get a lot of exotic pets, but I would say we've gotten a handful of bearded dragons. We've gotten some frogs in recently, mainly bunnies, a few birds here and there. But yeah, we've gotten some cool guys. We've gotten a couple snakes in. We got one. Unfortunately, it was a spider morph. They didn't understand the neurologic diseases that come or neurologic processes that come with these snakes. So for those out there, um, basically, you know how there's dogs that have like seizure disorders because of different like colors and such. Some
Yeah.
snakes are the same way.
Yeah, the spider morph specifically, it was found in the wild and it had a very cool pattern and it
Hmm.
was imported and it was bred into a lot of different morphs. The morphs on for anyone who isn't familiar, the morphs are the different colors that snakes come in and ball pythons come in about a bajillion.
Yeah.
And the spider morph has like a very cool almost striping instead of like splotches and they look very cool, but a lot of them have they call it stargazing and they wobble
Yeah.
and they can't really strike their food and they have a lot of it's
Probably.
unfortunate.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't be bred anymore,
Hmm.
but they're like so kind of stuck in the culture of ball pythons at this point. It's tough.
Exactly. And a lot of people who don't know, so they go to an expo, they see, tables and tables of different ball pythons and like, oh, this one looks different, this one looks cool, but not understanding like, but also I would be the same way. Like I didn't know things about like double merles because I'm not a dog person. So like
Right.
I don't know coat
Yeah.
colors. Like
Yep.
so
And it is unfortunate that breeders don't explain it better because from what I don't I've never actually held a spider morph, but I've heard they're very handleable because they don't move as well, so they don't move as much.
exactly. They're
So
they're
they're like
broken.
they're very chill in one sense, but as they grow, a lot of them get much worse with the head wobble and
Mhm. Some of
they
them can't right themselves over, they flip
yeah.
over and then they can't flip themselves back. It's really sad, honestly.
Yeah, I read a sad story on Reddit the other day where one actually drowned in its own water dish because it was stargazing and
So that's what
plop.
happened to one of the ones at our hospital.
Yeah,
They didn't know what was wrong with the snake, so they gave it a bath because they thought that would help, and it flipped over in its bath, and
yeah.
yeah.
It's unfortunate that because they can live a perfectly healthy life, but you have to know what you're getting in for. And I feel like if you're going to sell them, you really should be upfront about that. It's
Mhm.
probably not a good first reptile
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all. It's
and
more
this
for more
gets into
experienced
ethics and,
keepers
like
and
yeah, and it just, like, what kind of like, what kind of like, you have to just understand as a person, like, I'm putting a life into someone else's hands, like, you just have to
yeah.
mm, ugh.
It's yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten any big snakes in?
Besides my own, no, I bring my boa in occasionally just for funsies. But no, we really haven't. The state of Massachusetts is pretty strict on what you're allowed to keep. So we have not seen, I have not seen any anacondas. I don't think you can have an anaconda legally in the state of Massachusetts.
Probably not. I'm actually originally from
Oh,
Massachusetts.
cool. Right on.
Yeah, I'm in New York now, and
Mhm.
the laws here are weird too. In the city, like if you're in the 5 boroughs in New York City, you can't keep any python.
No. Yeah,
And
even
it's
ball pythons, which is like,
yeah, and it's because of, Burmese and retics, and it's like, they're so different, they're not even close.
I know, ball pythons are just big.
But you can keep, I think you can keep boas,
Yeah, which can be
which is
like 10
so
feet.
weird because 'cause they're bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just barely out of the city, so I'm good,
Yeah, I know, isn't it so funny?
but you can keep hognoses in the city, and they're mildly venomous, like
I know, and there's some states that you can't keep hognoses because of their rear fang venom.
yeah, which is it's like
It's so mild.
unless you're specifically allergic to it, you're perfectly
Yeah,
fine. It's like a bee sting.
exactly, and the thing is they're rear fang, so you have to, like, get your
You have
fingers
to let them gnaw on you,
yeah,
and,
exactly.
like, they're pretty small. Like, my guy, I ended up with tiny males. I think in June, he's technically 2. I got him when he was, like, 6 months old,
Mhm.
and he's 18 inches
Oh,
long,
yeah,
and
they're small. They stay small.
I forget how much he weighs, but, like, maybe 75 grams?
Yeah, that sounds about
He's just a
right.
little guy.
Yeah, just a little dude. Little
Yeah, he's, like, probably as big around as my pinky. Like, if he bit me, he would really have to work to get teeth into me.
exactly, and that's why I'm like, they're not scary, guys. Come on.
They're not. They had hognoses. I found for non-snake people, if I show them pictures or describe him, people are more inclined to like him than the ball python. I think one because he's small, and
Mhm.
two they have such derpy faces. I mean, like they have a shovel for a nose.
They're so cute.
They are, and they have so much personality. I love my ball python, but there are people who call them pet rocks because
Yeah,
they ball up when they get scared and they love to hide
yeah,
all day and they come out at night.
exactly. Yeah, they
And
don't do a lot, but they
hog
do.
noses have attitudes and they love to explore and dig and
Mhm. They're really fun. I think, like, as far as, like, beginner snakes, I really do like them. Sometimes I've had some issues of them not, liking t they refusing food, so they can be a little tricky in that sense, but I also really for small derpy snakes, I love Kenyan sand boas. I think they're so
oh yeah, they're so funky looking.
yes. They look like sock puppets, like, they don't
Yeah,
look
and
like a snake.
they bury themselves in the sand so their eyes instead of on the side, they're kind of up towards the top of their head. They're very funny looking
I love
in
them.
in a cute way.
Yeah, and I think that's another snake that, like, if you're not a big snake, if you're, like, scared of snakes, hognoses and sand boas, I think are great snakes to get you to maybe appreciate them a little bit more.
I totally agree. And their requirements for enclosures aren't huge.
That too.
Female hognoses get much bigger, so they need a bigger enclosure. It's
Um,
actually kind of humorous when you see mating pairs because the females are like 3 times as big as the males.
it is. Yeah,
Y They're
it's
also known for
bittersweet.
eating the males when they're
Yeah, that happens too. Well, but
but
she's
yeah
so big, she can't help it.
yeah. But and I think they're great,
Yeah,
starter snakes and a good way to
absolutely.
get people into them
Yeah.
because ball pythons can get pretty big.
Like, a female can get, like, 6 feet.
Yeah.
That can be intimidating for some people.
Yep.
Yeah. That's fair. So because like, I'm only 5'3", so, like, a snake bigger than me, if I was not a snake person, could be
Yeah,
scary.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And ball pythons always get called like the best beginner snake, but I think that's probably a little dated too
I
because their humidity requirements are much more difficult than a
yeah,
hog
they're
nose is
like
basically
yeah, room.
standard room
Mhm.
and they can tolerate much colder weather because they brumate every winter.
Exactly. Yeah,
I
you're
mean, they live natively in New York, so
exactly.
slightly different. They're Eastern versus Western, but they're hardy. They're
Mhm. Your ball python, like, is from Africa. It should have
yeah,
humidity.
yeah. There's a guy on YouTube named Dave Kaufman,
Yeah, I love Dave.
and he went to West Africa and tested the humidity and the temperature in their natural burrows, and it's like, yeah, it's real humid. Like at night, it's like 100% humidity.
Exactly, exactly, and we're keeping them in drawers at, like, 30% humidity.
Yeah, that's that's
That's
the
where we're
one the
keeping it.
one thing I struggled with at first was the humidity, and he had like 2 bad sheds,
Mhm.
and I felt so terrible. I was like, "Oh my god,
Oh,
I'm the worst keeper ever." But
it
if
happens.
it's just a little bit off, yeah, it and also I learned, as I went that even if your humidity is right, it can take 2 or 3 sheds to correct from a bad shed.
Right, it's their skin is so thin, like, in or the layers that shed off are so thin and, like, they really do a good job protecting the body.
Yeah.
So they have to it takes a while to get that worked out for sure. Oh, I do love snakes. They're fantastic.
I never did, which is the most
Mhm,
interesting thing is, like, as a kid, I did not like snakes. I liked lizards. I
mhm.
remember I went to a Boy Scout camp in New Hampshire when I was 10, and I caught a salamander and built it in an enclosure for the week that I was there. I had water in it, and I ripped up some sod, like, so I had dirt and grass, and I kept it for a week, the 6 days that I was there, and it's like, I liked stuff like that, but snakes freaks me out.
Yeah. Oh god, I'm a big fan. We're like being here in New England is just great because like we have so many great trails. I have a stepson, he's 4 and a half. We're really learning nature this year. So we're doing a lot of hikes, we're doing a lot of log flipping,
That's
appreciating the
really fun.
bugs,
Go
appreciating
out herping.
salamanders. Yes, exactly. We took him on his first camping trip this weekend. It was great, just teaching nature.
Now, what does as a small little guy, which reptiles does he gravitate towards in your reptile room?
He loves the geckos. The geckos are his favorite for sure. He loves handling them. He likes looking at the big snake. He likes looking at the big spiders, but we're not there yet. I do have jewelry case locks on all of my enclosures now, just because
Yeah, that
of
makes
little
sense.
hands. So I'm trying to be a responsible parent with reptiles.
How big is your boa, a male or a female?
He's a male. He's about 7 to 8 feet long.
Okay, so yeah, he's full grown.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. The females can get even bigger.
Yeah, they can get like 10, 11. I've heard 12. I've never seen a 12. you know?
Yeah, that's a large snake.
Yeah, for sure.
I think anything in the 10 plus range is where you start to need 2 people to handle.
Yeah, I think legally in the UK, over 8 feet, you need two people.
Really?
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that.
I believe so. There's very specific herp laws. And like standards set for enclosures. So a lot of the American standards now are coming from the UK standards.
Yeah.
They're even pushing for bearded dragons to be in 6 by 3 by 3s over there right now. So it's like, wow, we're getting bigger.
It's one of those things though where it's like when I went from a, 38-inch Rubbermaid container to a 4 by 2 by 2, it's like he really uses every inch of it.
They do. They really
I'm
do.
actually planning this summer when I have to redo all the substrate. I'm trying to come up with some type of I got some like thick rope
I
that I'm going to try and run across it so he has some vertical climbing space
love
too.
that. Yes. I love
I'm
that.
always looking for things to add.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with captive animals, we can use novel items because like you can use a cereal box, like you can use
Yeah.
anything. I'm not sure if you've seen on YouTube Lori Tarini. She's like a snake enrichment like psychologist. I don't know. She's
Yes,
amazing.
I have seen her.
Yeah, and she comes up with the greatest stuff. Like just like you use anything. She's like whatever. Use
Have
corn.
have you heard of Bob Bledsoe? He has the
Hmm.
green room pythons.
No, I'll have to look him up.
He's he's big on he got a couple videos that went very viral on Instagram and TikTok because he lets a lot of his snakes free roam. He rotates which ones are allowed out of their enclosure,
Oh, that's
and
so
he
cool.
has his like the area that they're allowed is completely reptile proof.
Oh, I love
So
that.
he lets them go, and obviously, like, it's like he only lets the females go together, and he doesn't mix species, and
Right, right.
but
Mhm,
he's got a bunch of like vertical space, and he'll be filming videos, and he has two super dwarf retics,
mhm.
and they'll just like randomly come from a rope behind him and like plop on his head,
I love that so much. Oh,
and the ball pythons are funny too because whenever he shows them, they just go under the couch or they go in a corner and they just hide.
they're like, "This is good. I like it."
But he uses what I thought was really neat is when because he does some breeding,
Mhm,
he uses it's like a I think it's meant for kids. It's like a pop up like circle that's enclosed, and then
mhm.
he just puts a bunch of stuff in it, and he'll put a few of the babies in there at a time with different enrichment things. And the biggest thing that he uses when they're little is he uses the circular boxes from like whiskey bottles.
Yes.
And he said that like he's found that they love those. They crawl in there and
Yes.
they just love it.
I love that so much. Yeah, I got one of those pop-up tents, because I wanted to put geckos in it to try to socialize geckos. I've yet to like I said, my reptile room's in construction right now, but I have a little, like, little pop-up tent that you can just, like, sit in.
It's so much fun to watch them because they really do. Like, even when I redo just the substrate, I
Mhm.
usually always try and move things around a little bit, and you can see that, like, their brain is working, and they're like, "I need all right, where is everything? What's
Yeah.
going on
Let me
here?"
figure this out. Like, what's happening in my house? I gotta learn.
Yeah.
Ugh,
I can't let mine free roam at all because I have cats,
yeah, fair.
and in 6 years, they've only noticed the reptile enclosure once, which is like I'm like, "Come on, guys, you sit on the couch right next to it." But
Sometimes.
the but when they're out, they're always like, "I have to keep them in another room just to be safe," and they would be way too curious then.
Right. We have a pit bull. She's very curious about all of the critters, so we have to make some very, very secure boundaries when we have animals
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, it can be tough, but, I mean, you can do it. That's definitely the thing, though, is you just have to separate.
Yes. Please
Like, a
don't
lot
play
of the times,
tit tat
I'll
with
just
your snake for those of you out there.
yeah, there's a lot of videos of, like, cats going into reptile enclosures, and it is cute, but you're putting a predator in with a very frightened creature, and it's
Yeah,
gonna stress them out, and it can go bad so quickly.
right, and that makes me so nervous. My heart pitter patters
It
when I see those.
it works it could work 100 times, but the one time it doesn't work, it's gonna go real bad.
Right. Oh god. Yep,
That's
and
why usually when I take them out of the enclosure, I take them to my room and just close the door.
yeah, exactly. And, like, as an ER vet tech, like, I see the worst of the worst. Like, I granted, I haven't seen predatory, like, I've seen dog bites on other dogs and cats, and
Right.
but, like, I've not seen that, like, and dog bites are bad. Like, actually, I got my first dog in a decade, I got my first dog bite.
Oh, wow. What kind of dog was it?
A little terrier.
It's usually the little ones.
It happens.
I've only
They
been I've been bitten by 2 dogs in my life,
yeah.
and it was both time one was on the leg and one was on, like, the side of my hip.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
One of them was a standard full-size poodle that had so much attitude,
Right.
and then the second time was actually by a police dog. It was a Belgian Malinois.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was
What were you doing? No, I'm just kidding.
I was a criminal justice student at a college, and the canine officer came in to do a demonstration, and he brought in the German Shepherd. The German Shepherd was great. He brought him in the classroom, and then he had a young Belgian Malinois, and it got out of the car off lead, and it just bolted towards me. I don't know why, and just went right for my hip.
What are the chances? Like, that's
Yeah,
wild.
of course, everybody in the class was like, "Did you have drugs on you?" And I was like, "No, I didn't bring drugs to a criminal justice class." Like,
Like, what do you think, guys?
I think it was like a 2-year-old dog that was still being trained, and the officer even admitted he was, like, close to retirement. He's like, "This dog's a lot to handle. I probably don't need it." And I was like, "Yeah, I'd say so."
Oh my god, that's wild. I have to say, like, so I work, in Boston, and, we do get the Boston police dogs in, occasionally when things happen. Nothing, knock on wood, nothing has been real crazy, but I have to say some of them are not the best behaved boys.
Yeah, they're very good at their specific thing, but
Yeah. It's like, "What? You were" like, I'm walking them outside to take them potty, and it's like, "What?
yeah.
Where are your manners?"
Yeah, they can lack a little bit of that.
So I think that's just really funny to hear about your
Yeah, it
story.
was more like I don't even think he fully bit me, but it was more like he punched me with his teeth. He just ran right at me, but I had a nasty bruise through, like, a pair of jeans, and I was like, "Oh, boy."
Yeah, they can be bad. Yeah, animal bites are scary.
Yeah, they're not dogs' mouths are not that clean.
No, no, I think as far as I've been bitten by a lot of so that was my first, like, real dog bite, but as I've been bitten by a lot of animals over the years. My worst bites have been by squirrels.
Really?
Yeah,
I
squirrel.
had a hamster as a kid that bit me real bad
Oh,
one
yeah,
time.
rodent teeth are nasty.
Yeah, rodents are cute, but I don't think I could ever do that again.
No, I'm not a rodent girl. They're cute. They're so cute. I like watching them. I like watching them dig and stuff their little faces. That's adorable. But like taking care of them is a lot of work.
Yeah, and, hamsters are another one where I think people don't realize that they actually need a much bigger enclosure than
No
what
habitats.
yeah, then pet stores will sell you a small one, but they need more than that.
Yeah, like honestly, like if you can, I have seen hamsters in 4 by 2 by 2s, and they thrive. Like I know
Yeah.
that seems like a ton of space, but like mean?
But I think they also need, like, over a foot of bedding to really be able to dig and burrow the way that they want to.
Exactly, exactly, so it's giving them so that really only gives them a foot of vertical space
Yeah.
and, like, an 8-foot footprint, it's not that big.
Now, are you a bird person too? I know a lot of reptile people are bird people.
So, I'm not a pet bird girl. I don't own birds, I'm actually a little afraid of, like, parrots and such, but I love wild birds. I did a lot of work with wild birds over the years, I am that nerd that goes out and be like, "Oh, that's a towhee."
Mhm.
Like, um, but, yeah, I appreciate the look of pet birds, but the idea of a pet bird coming into the ER is terrifying to me because that means it's very sick, and, it's gonna be very stressed when it gets in.
Yeah, and I feel like bird bites would be nasty too.
Yeah. Oh, I don't I used to have a scar over here from a black vulture. Got me pretty good.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've never I've seen a lot of reptile keepers on YouTube also have birds, and I'm just like, I don't think I could do the birds. They're
Yeah.
very noisy.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They're messy. I kept pigeons for a little while, so that's my
Oh my god, my daughter loves pigeons. She was like, recently found out that you can put diapers on them, and she's like, "See, we could get one, and it wouldn't make a mess." And I was like, "I don't think we need a pigeon with cats."
I know. I kept pigeons. I really love them. I it was great. I kept them indoors for a couple of years. I finally got an outdoor aviary for them, and unfortunately, we had an accident and they got out and never came back. But that's
Oh,
okay. It's all right.
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I was like, oh, bye.
I guess I took care of you for all that time just for this.
Yeah, you'll be fine. So there's a couple white pigeons that are probably joined a flock locally.
Probably living their best life.
Yeah, doing pigeon things.
Pigeons are they are cute.
They are. And they're actually I find as far as pet birds, they are very sweet birds. Their sounds are really sweet. Um, they're just as messy as a parrot, but they're a really nice bird to keep.
Yeah, being we used to live in New York City, so she saw them all the time growing up. So I think maybe that contributed to
And now that
her
they're becoming
desire
a
to
little
have
bit more
one.
popular as pets, like, on the
Yeah.
internet, like, it's like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, well, then you find out, like, no one told me as a kid that they used to be domesticated, and we kind of abandoned them as
We ruined them.
yeah.
We ruined the pigeons. It's our fault that they're pigeons here.
Yeah, so they deserve to become popular pets again.
Yeah, I know, and I saw so because I was in DC, obviously in the city, we saw so many pigeons, and so many with little strings wrapped around their little feet. They get all tangled up with hair and stuff, and then their feet get all messed up.
Mm.
Oh, so sad. So I see people on TikTok, like, just catching pigeons and, like, fixing their feet and sending them back off, and it makes me so happy to see
Yeah,
people
because
doing this.
that's a huge life improvement for them.
Yeah, and it's like and it also, like it's great, like, for people to be passionate enough to do it and to also not take the resources away from the wildlife clinic because 'cause we're already like I said, like, we were seeing, like, 3,000 patients a year, so, like, if we can just, like,
Yeah,
quickly take some string
that's a
off and
lot.
send them off, great. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, did you prefer wild animals to being in an emergency room? Like, is there
So, this is gonna sound harsh, but I personally like the wild aspect only because sometimes the human connection can be difficult. Um, and it's because I'm a sensitive person and I have a hard time like I feel like sometimes so much empathy and like I'm feeling so bad for the people and I feel so uncomfortable and I don't know how to help them in the situation with
right?
the animal that they love so dearly. And it doesn't matter what I say and I just feel so helpless. Um,
Yeah, that's got to be really difficult because no matter the animal, it really is a family member to these people.
Yeah, and so, like, no matter what I say, like, I can be as empathetic as I want to be and, like or, like but I can only say so much to I'm just a stranger to them, like
Right, yeah.
so So,
Yeah, that's gotta be tough.
yeah. So that's the hardest part of being a veterinary professional, I think, is, we're there for the human animal bond through and through, but it's hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Mhm.
Now, is the ER that you work at, is it like 24 hours like a regular emergency room?
Yep, we're just like the regular human ER. I work
Yep, do you
overnight.
get a lot of, like, overnight emergencies?
Oh yeah, we're busy all night. It all depends. It can go from just like, diarrhea cases, but like bad direct diarrhea cases. It can go hit by cars, respiratory distress. It, Anything can happen. We had a difficult birth the other night, so we had to do a C-section on a Jack Russell. Like it all depends. Every night's different.
Yeah, I mean, in a city, there really are you don't stop and think about how many pets there are, but most people do have a pet, so
Yeah. Yep. We are pretty busy. It's great though. I like personally being on the overnights in the city because it's like you get the real emergencies.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
because
fun.
you're probably the only vet for miles that are open.
Yeah. Fortunately, there's two in Boston, but like we're a big city still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to during the day, everybody has their normal vet that they go to, and there's a lot of those.
Exactly. I know we have quite a few locations. Well, I work for a corporate veterinary hospital. So we have, I think, 102 locations nationwide. So it's really great that like we are available as an emergency service to so many people.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, and with your personal reptiles, is there a dream species that you would love to add someday? Is there anything coming soon? I'm sure since you do rescue that can be a little unexpected, but are there any plans?
So my like dream reptile is a hydrosaurus, or excuse me. They are also called the sail-finned lizard. They look like little dinosaur. Like they are
I don't
iguana
think I've ever
size.
seen those.
Oh, they're so cool. But they are from the Philippines. They look like dragons. Essentially, they have a sail on their backs, and they're just a fascinating species. But they're very, very difficult to keep. They require insane heat and insane humidity, so you have to, like, fight with the heat and the humidity trying to keep
Right.
moist, and they need a massive enclosure with lots of trees to hang out on, pool to swim in, so it's gonna be a long process, but that's my dream.
That's very cool. I'll have to look those up. I don't think I've seen those.
Yeah, it's, sailfin dragon, sailfin lizard, or hydrosaurus, which is just
Yeah,
so
I
cool.
yeah, that's I think that's the other thing too is with every new species you learn so much, and it's kind of true with dogs. I mean, because breeds are different, but they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, yeah.
But reptiles are pretty unique in that. I would love to add more at some point, but
You're gonna get a lizard
space.
soon. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
at some point.
I see you with a gecko.
I I I also I was really close to getting a corn snake at one point too. I
Yeah,
really like them too.
yeah, they're nice and active. I like them. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're another 4 by 2 by 2 at least.
Exactly. But the great thing about these 4 by 2 by 2s is they stack now.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just have to put a whole wall there.
Exactly, it's fine.
But I would love a gecko at some point.
Mhm. Yeah, they're so cool.
The leopard geckos are really cool, and then what's I really like they're similar to a leopard. Oh, the African fat tails.
Cattails, yes, they're like chocolatey versions of
Yeah,
the leopard gecko.
I find them a little bit cuter for some reason.
Their eyes are a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Little Pokemon faces.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're right. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
They're very cute.
Yeah, I we had I've so it's funny, I talked with a group of people, a group of reptile keepers, and 4 of us had African fat tails that were failure to thrive in their first year.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm so this is just a personal theory. I'm a little hesitant about African fat tails just because of this little conversation that we had.
That
Like,
is interesting.
and like I just don't know if everyone's having that experience or I don't know.
It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
It's like it's anecdotal, but it's 4 of you, so
Yeah. It's weird.
now I just remembered one thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
You said that you recently, when I first messaged you about this, you spoke at a college about reptiles?
Yeah, so through my work, I will also do campus events for local vet tech students. Um,
Oh, okay, that's very cool.
yeah, so like teaching future veterinary nurses how to, if they encounter reptiles in the wild in their practices, what to do and what kind of husbandry practices that they should be following. So when they're asking their history, um, they have a little bit of background knowledge like, oh, they're keeping them in 60 degrees, they should be in 90 degrees. Like,
Right.
they have a little bit more like background information on what could be going wrong and how they can maybe coach these people. Um, yeah, and just kind of teach about the basic species and then let them handle some snakes and lizards and or bring
So
some
you
animals.
you
Yeah.
did bring some demo animals?
Yep. Let them
That's
handle
very
them.
fun.
Yeah. It's so
Oh, I
fun.
bet they loved that.
Yeah, it's really great. It depends, some classes like it a little bit more than others. This last group, I think, were more large animal people. They seemed like more horse girlies. So
Oh, okay.
so they were like, okay, this is cool, but I don't know if they were into it.
Yeah. What did you bring with you?
I brought the Uromastyx and the boa that trip.
That's yeah, that those are good ones.
Yeah, they're really fun.
My friend who does a little bit of ball python breeding, he does birthday parties with kids
Oh,
where
that's
he
fun.
brings he's got a boa, he's got a bunch of ball pythons, he's got a blue tongue skink.
Oh, fun. Yeah.
Um I think he might have been getting tarantulas too.
Yeah, I love it.
And so he does like adventure birthday parties for kids where he'll bring a few different animals for the kids to handle and learn about.
I love that. I feel like, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be a veterinary nurse forever. I'm in my late 30s, like it's hard on the body. I do think, I would like my career path to go more towards education as I come into the next phase of my life.
I'm sure you're familiar with snake discovery on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah, Emily,
I
yeah,
th
they're
I
great.
think her education program seems so cool. That would be so much fun to
Yes.
do. Really
Yeah,
just could I think kids are always so curious, but then it's also like you're potentially jump starting the next generation of reptile keepers.
right. I love that. Oh, I just want to get more involved too with like the outdoors, like getting kids outside. Like I just want to be let's go look
Very
at animals
valid.
outside.
Very valid.
Let's go look at some birds. Let's go look at some salamanders.
Yeah. Herping
Mhm.
tours, that could be it.
Yeah, dream.
Yeah, I've just recently started getting into, like, spotting birds outside. I'm 41, I turned 40 last year, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "Well, I guess this is it. I'm interested in birds
Yeah,
now." Like
yeah, as far as books, I definitely because since you're mainly a book guy, I
yeah,
the Sibley Bird Guide is the best bird guide out there.
okay.
That is
I'll
my
have to pick that
go-to.
up.
Yes, it's my go-to bird book, has
Yeah,
the
it's
best
like,
varieties.
my Instagram, has picked up on this, and I'm getting nonstop ads for a new app called Birda.
Oh.
It's bird with an A at the end, and it's like Pokemon, you gotta catch catch them all. It's
Oh
like
my god,
so
stop.
they want you to capture pictures of all of them because it's a big database of users.
That's amazing because the Merlin Bird ID is by Cornell, and that's
I
a
have
really
that
great
one. I just got
it's
that
so
one a couple weeks ago.
it's really good because you can just play sounds, you're like, "What is that?"
Yeah, I figured out what a bird outside of my apartment building was just by
Right, so
I just
cool.
recorded like 5 seconds of it.
And it's like, "Hey, here we
Yeah.
are." Oh, so cool.
There's like a little
Technology.
courtyard, outside of my building, and I met a guy out there that lives in my building at one point, and he's like, "Oh, yeah," he's like, "I've seen 14 species in here." And I was like, "Really? Okay, so I guess I just need to go sit out there with the app and start taking pictures."
Exactly. No, that's so cool. It's amazing, especially, like, migratory season is right now, so there's tons of birds that we don't typically see, so it's just a really great time of year to, like, be outside.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's finally starting to get nice. Well, there's been a lot of rain in the Northeast recently, but
Yeah, we had a nor'easter, when on the first night of our camping trip, so we had to bail.
oh yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, we it took us we tried for 2 hours to get our tent up in, like, 2 inches of rain.
Yeah, nor'easters aren't fun.
No. Oh, that was
No,
miserable.
I'm originally from Nantucket, Mass.
Oh, very
So it
cool.
was like that's all we got. All fall. It
Yeah,
was just nor'easters.
just wind and
Yep,
rain, and wind and
tons
rain,
of it.
wind and rain.
Yep, all winter there too because it doesn't snow there very often. It's like
Yeah,
here you
it's
go,
just
Thirty,
cold rain.
35 and raining and 50-mile-an-hour winds. Have fun.
Oh, that sounds terrible. It sounds like your bones hurt, like, it's so cold.
Yeah, that's what Nantucket winters are tough. I've tried to describe it to people before because one is especially back then the population was smaller. It was very lonely,
Yeah,
but it was also it's like we got 33 and rain pretty often, and it's like there's nothing colder than that. It's like at that
no.
point you just wish it was snowing and a little bit colder because you wouldn't feel as bad.
Exactly, just wet and cold is the worst combination for sure. Ugh.
Yeah, that's what looking, but we didn't have a ton of birds on Nantucket. We had piping plovers, which were protected and
Mhm.
I didn't like them as a kid because they always closed the beaches that we wanted to be at. But
I appreciate them now, like, I love watching them. They're little
yeah,
they're so cute.
yeah, I had a couple weeks ago on I had my cousin on the podcast, and he works for NOAA, and
Oh,
he's a
wow.
biologist, and he spends a lot of time in Alaska, and
Mhm.
he's a wildlife photographer. So I was going through his portfolio a little bit the other day, and he has seen so many cool birds. Of course, in Alaska, tons of bald eagles,
Yeah,
and there's just so much cool stuff out there. And it's like I never paid attention to birds until the last couple years. But like I said, I guess
there's
you hit
something about
40
the
and you become a bird person.
and there it really is. My partner and I, we went to, like, the outlets, like, I'm sure, like, everyone out there, you have your outlets, for Memorial Day sales, and we bought all of our, like, we went to the Columbia outlet and the Merrill outlet. We got all of our, like, we're like, "Oh my god, we're so old now."
Yeah,
Like, 5 years ago, we'd be bashing ourselves so hard. But yeah, this is almost 40.
yeah. Apparently, it's I just recently got back into photography, and years ago I got into photography, and there's a lot of people who love to take pictures of birds, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
And then now it's like I follow this couple on YouTube that are in Connecticut, and that's one of the main things they do with wildlife photography is birds, and I'm like, all right, fine, I get it.
Got it, it's cool,
I
bird's
was
cool.
wrong.
Yeah.
It is very cool.
Oh my god, I know. Yep, this is how we grow up, I guess. Wild.
Well, we just hit an hour, so I've taken up about an hour of your time. This is probably a good stopping point.
Alright.
I will link in the description. I know you have a pretty good community on TikTok. Are you also on Instagram? I forgot to check.
I am, I just recently started cross-posting on Instagram when, the TikTok ban happened, so I don't have a lot of following on Instagram, it's mainly TikTok, but I'm trying to grow it, so if you wanna follow me on Instagram, that's great.
I'll link to both in the description. And everyone should definitely give you a follow. I love the content.
Thank
Been
you.
around for a while. I remember when you hit 10,000
I
followers.
know, it's wild, we're up to 52,000 now, I don't know how that I didn't really do much except just show you guys critters.
No, you make interesting content, and I think everyone does appreciate learning about critters.
Oh, thank you so much, I
Yeah, so
appreciate
everyone definitely check out the description to get the link. And thank you guys for joining me for another hour this week. And I will be back next week.
Okay.
And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, really appreciate it.